Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Sade C, and today let me first quickly show you the verdict, and then we're going to watch the press conference that was held post-verdict. So check this out.
State of Wisconsin versus Maxwell Anderson, case 24, CF1692, appearances.
Ian Vance Curzan and Megan Newport appear for the state along with Detective Joanne Donner.
Good morning, Anthony Cotton and Jason Finley with Max Anderson. Good morning again.
And good morning to all of you. At this point, I have received verdicts. They are in a proper legal fashion. Who is my foreperson? May I have your name and number
Now
for the
watch
record?
Maxwell Anderson's reaction.
And you did sign these 4 verdicts and date them today? I did. Thank you. I will now read them into the record. As to count 1, the verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. As to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information. As to count 3, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of arson of property other than a building as charged in count 3 of the information. As to count 4, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of hiding a corpse as charged in count 4 of the information. At this point, I will poll the jury. What that means is as follows. I'm going to have the first jurors stand in the back row on the far.
Okay, so we have already seen the verdict together once. It's on the playlist, right? But like, just look at Maxwell's reaction. Is he really that surprised? Like, did he really think that this was not going to be the outcome? I mean, look at the evidence that they presented. And it all came together. At first, it was like, ooh, okay, it's circumstantial evidence, of course. How could they tie this all together? But as the days went on, they really brought it together. And so he just looks... Okay, Anthony Cotton, I think he already accepted. He's been speaking to the media a little bit as well, and he's just like, I don't really... They're like, do you think your client is innocent? He's like, my opinion doesn't matter. Right? But just... Maxwell's face, so if you want to see the whole verdict stream, it's on the playlist, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's quickly switch here to, we're going to switch now to the press conference, which I'm glad to see they're inside. They are in a room, so it means there won't be trains, planes, buses, trucks, you know, that we normally hear in a press conference. So let's have a listen to this together.
Against Maxwell Anderson. They are just stepping to the podium. Different members of the district attorney's office and law enforcement. Let's listen in
from
live.
The sheriff's office, the Milwaukee Police Department, and of course the Milwaukee County District Attorney's office. As you might expect, these people have limited time today. The cases don't stop, so we'll have about 15 minutes. Several speakers, starting with District Attorney Kent Lovern, will close out with Sheriff Ball and have a few people in between. And with that, I will, one other thing, a little bit of housekeeping. Verdict may have been read, but this case is not over. So you can ask your questions. Not all of them may be answered, but ask away and we'll do what we can.
I was like, ooh, I was thinking the investigation continues, but obviously the verdict's been read. The case is not over because they're still sentencing, and sentencing has been set for August 15th. Of 2025 at 10 o'clock. Let's hope that doesn't change, right? So August 15th is what we have right now in our calendars for when Maxwell Anderson, 34 years old, will be sentenced. So he was found guilty on all 4 charges: first-degree murder, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, and arson.
With that, District Attorney Lovern, please.
Thank you, James, and good morning to all of you. First and foremost, I want to express our deepest sympathy to the family and loved ones of Sade Robinson. They've incurred a devastating loss that obviously occurred in a horrific manner, and they've had to carry this loss in a very public way now for over 14 months. And we are hopeful that this verdict brings some amount of solace to them. I want to express gratitude to the jurors who served in this case. We obviously are gratified by their verdict, obviously, because it is a just outcome in this case. But we are equally grateful for their service over 2 weeks, for their attention to this matter. And let's remember, jury service is among the highest level of civic responsibility any of us can be asked to take on. Juries are relied upon in the American justice system more than any place else in the world, and this is where members of our community have their highest amount of authority as they consider and decide cases. So we're very grateful for the jurors who served in this matter. I'm obviously very grateful to the superb law enforcement investigation that took place in this case. It was led by the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, and that team led by Detective Joanne Donner. Incredible work done here. As you heard through this trial, this was a very complex matter that took place in an investigation that spanned the entire county, and so required a great deal of meticulous and dedicated work. The Milwaukee Police Department played a big role in this investigation as well. We're grateful for their efforts. Assistant Chief Nicole Davila is here today, and I also want to express gratitude to all of the other law enforcement officials at the state, local, and federal level who participated in this investigation. It is important to know law enforcement in this county works very well together. That doesn't happen every place. It happens here in Milwaukee County, and for that, all of us in this community can be grateful. And finally, I want to thank our trial team. You know, the best prosecutors have a sharp mind and a big heart, and Ian Vance Curzan exhibits both of those at the highest level. Everyone saw that on full display during this trial, but what most people did not see was the hundreds of hours Ian has given to this case over the past 14 months in preparation for what happened in the courtroom over these past 2 weeks. Thank you to Deputy District Attorney Megan Newport, who also assisted with this case. She's a leader in our office, on our executive team. She has had an exemplary career already, supervising dozens of people while managing a caseload of some of the most violent crimes in our county, and I appreciate her efforts here. And I also want to personally thank Sarah Martinez, our victim witness advocate. Sarah is one of many such advocates in our office who have the challenging but rewarding task of guiding hurting members of our community through a justice system that can be complex, confusing, and unkind. And as she always does, Sarah did an exemplary job in this case, and we are all grateful for her work. Many others in our office contributed to the success of this prosecution, as with all of the other investigative agencies here. We all know these cases, especially the complex ones like this one, require a team effort across the board. And I can tell you, I've been part of this community for many, many years, and I'm grateful for the cooperation that we constantly see day in and day out through all of our public safety partners, and this case was no exception. I'm grateful for everyone's work in this matter and for the outcome today. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ian Vance Curzan.
Good morning, everybody. I'm kind of tired of talking, but I just want to repeat something Kent said, that this is, while we are satisfied with this verdict, our hearts go out to the family of Sade Robinson. This is a tragedy, and I'm just hopeful that this verdict can be a step towards healing for everybody that this has affected, particularly her family. I have to say that this investigation was extremely thorough, and the hours of work put into this by investigators from numerous agencies, the Sheriff's Office primarily, and the Milwaukee Police Department, as well as other local agencies, federal agencies, even one out-of-state agency. Everybody put together the case that you saw over the course of the past 2 weeks. It was an incredible effort by so many people, by so many dedicated members of the law enforcement community, and that's what you saw on display over the last 2 weeks. And the victim witness, Sarah, I can't thank you enough for the work you put in. You dedicated so much of your life to this case, and as the victim witness advocate staff in the district attorney's office really did that. I'm kind of at a loss for words here. It's been a long 2 weeks, but I just wanted to say those things, and yeah, and if there's any questions.
He did an amazing job, Brian.
Oh, yes, Detective Donner in particular, she was.
Ooh, Detective Donner is a favorite. If you guys didn't see the closing arguments, which was, of course, on day 8, today, it's labeled differently in the media because they count, obviously, jury selection as day 1, right? But the day before the verdict, of course. If you didn't see that, you have to go watch the closing arguments. They They were so powerful. I really think this team did such a great job, especially because this was a circumstantial evidence case. But I mean, if you put that all together, it was a very strong case.
She was the lead, and she's incredible. I owe her so much.
Well, it wouldn't have happened without his amazing presentation in court. But yes, like everyone said, my heart goes out to the family and her friends and really the community at large. Everyone's come together, and it's hard to take that step back as a law enforcement officer and not get that emotionally involved during the case. But I will admit that I did go back to my office after the verdict and I had a good cry because I finally got to have that emotion. It does affect us too. And as I said at one point on the stand, that as the lead investigator, this wasn't me. I just was orchestrating. I was directing people where to go and what to do. And sometimes I felt a little lost, but without the rest of my team, every single detective we have worked on this. All of Milwaukee's homicide unit, many of their officers, we had the ATF, FBI, Cudahy, Waukegan, and it really was a huge joint effort, and this would not have happened without all of us working together. So I'm looking forward to putting this past 14 months behind me. It's taken a long toll. It's been a very difficult road, but I was very pleased with today's verdict and incredible to work with this prosecution team. It made it very easy. Ian was with me literally from day one, and that's why he knew this case inside and out. He was there every single step of the way. So, thank you.
Sure. I can take some questions, and so can Detective
Donner first. Can you summarize how many hours you spent on this case the last 14 months? And what was the most complex or challenging piece of this investigation from your perspective?
So since these are the two people that assign me my cases, they can probably attest that I have not been assigned pretty much any case for the past 14 months. It has been this case. So whatever 40 plus hours a week has been on this case. I have lived and breathed it. Even on some of my off times, I would go down to Warnimont and I'd go up and down that beach, just hoping, right? The most difficult part is not asking myself constantly, did I miss anything? Is there anything that I overlooked? Being hard on myself, I think, was actually really the hardest part on this case.
Ian, when that verdict came down today and it was guilty on all 4 counts, your first thought was what?
just how thankful I am to have the team that I have. Megan, Sarah, others in my office, and then also just what I said before, that hoping that this can be a time for Sade's family to move on to some healing. Now having a verdict after all these months, those were the first things I thought about.
What do you think it says about the swiftness of this deliberation? It took less than an hour.
I think it says that the investigation was incredibly well done. You know, I'm not a participant in that. I just try to tell the jury what the facts are and let the facts speak the truth. And I think that when a case is investigated the way this one was investigated, the truth just spoke for it. I mean, the evidence just spoke for itself. That's all I can really say about that, and I think the jury saw that. There really wasn't much I needed to say in my closing argument. I felt like just because of how much the jury had seen, they saw how thorough it was.
Ian, it seems that
But then look how he delivered it. He's like, there really wasn't much I had to say because, you know, the evidence spoke for itself. But damn, he delivered it so well. It was so intense, so powerful, so moving. You could feel how passionate he was about the case. I mean, I'm going to watch it again after this. I hope you do as well. Because my goodness, and he's so humble now about it, right? Yeah, Stefan, you also say he's really humble for a prosecutor. He's really so humble about it, and it was just done so well. And I really liked during the trial when, just before the jury went to deliberate, then the judge said, do not look for doubt, look for the truth. I'm gonna keep that quote. I like it a lot. You know, it was just really impactful because it's easy to look for doubt in cases, right? But look for the truth. What's the truth? And I think the state presented all that evidence so well. You could see clearly Maxwell Anderson is the one who lured Sade Robinson on a date. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. And murdered her and dismembered her and drove around in her car and then set it on fire. I mean, it's horrific. I don't even know why he's so surprised, honestly. Really, did he really think he had a chance?
The presentation of your case that you and Megan did, you're trying to put together all these different pieces of evidence, all these different timelines, and make it consumable and understandable for a jury, especially when you're getting into very dry, technical evidence. How much time was spent on that, and how does that go towards what you think is verdict that was reached today?
I mean, there were, hours and hours of video that was poured through by many, many detectives, and that I've watched as well with them, and repeatedly watched that stuff. And the time put into that, all the videos, retrieving the videos, I mean, that's what defined the timeline and the routes that were taken and that sort of thing that allowed for a complete understanding of what happened throughout the day, the evening, and the early morning hours into the next day. There's countless hours spent reviewing video. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
there are 82 witnesses by our count that were called for your case. 68 members of law enforcement, 12 civilians, 2 non-law enforcement government workers, and Detective Donner, I think our track had you taking the stand the most times of that. Have you ever called that many witnesses in a case, or remember calling that many witnesses in a case, and purpose of that, I'm guessing, to lock in and try and carry that timeline forward?
I've never called that many witnesses. I can't speak for Megan. I think she may have before. But no, I've never called that many witnesses, but that was necessary to lock in the timeline and be very clear. Because one of the things when you're dealing with a case that involves such a large geographic range and a long timeline, it's going to require a lot of people to help explain all of that, and that's what we had here.
Ian, there was a lot of evidence in this case, but what would you consider to be the key piece of evidence that helped you prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt?
I'm not sure I really want to comment on that. I think the evidence spoke for itself, and I think if you watched the trial, everybody who watched the complete trial got to a moment where I think it got to that point, at some point. But
I agree. I was wondering how he's going to answer that now, but I agree. It was like, at first, we weren't sure. Like, ooh, it's a very circumstantial evidence case, but damn, they built it so well. And for me, personally, and let me know as well in the comments, it was seeing the digital data, the evidence on Maxwell Anderson's phone. I mean, the fact that he was deleting pictures, taking pictures of Sade, deleting pictures, then putting on Netflix, then driving around in her car, just all of that and tying it together. It's almost like he was cornered because they already showed a lot from the night of April 1st. Then the morning footage from the bus and all of that, and you just put that all together. There's no way that it's not him. Why would he be there in the morning at her car? And even if the defense was implying that he could have just been walking past there, well, he didn't flinch, he didn't look, he didn't help, he didn't say anything. He just walked by. He just walked by Sade's car just like that? No, that made no sense. So for me, when they put that all together and that excellent timeline, even the judge put together an excellent timeline. So yeah, that was it for me. What moment was it for you? Let me know.
Detective Donner, can you just talk about the complexity of this case, having to deal with agencies from across the county, even spilling into Illinois?
So initially, we ended up having daily briefings over at MPD, kind of get caught up on the aspects that they were working on, and then joining it up with what we were working on. Sorting out those tasks, thankfully, it was easier than I thought it would be. Just letting them know, like, hey, we need video from this area, and I didn't have to worry about knowing it's going to get done. Same with my guys, just, asking him to do unusual things like throw a pair of gloves off of a cliff. No one questioned it. They just went ahead and did it. So it was having that trust and that confidence, mostly in the other agencies, that's what made this a lot easier for me to deal with.
And can you give us some perspective? I mean, this case came with no murder weapon and the medical examiner not being able to determine how Sade Robinson actually died.
Right.
Have you ever worked a case like that, or can you just put it in perspective for us?
No, not at all. And that was increasingly frustrating because that's where I went back to the, am I missing something? Am I overlooking something? You know, I knew in my gut that Maxwell Anderson was guilty. So I needed to figure out, how, does this evidence show it? You know, but yeah, it was very hard to overcome some of that. But in the end, it's what I had. So that's what we had to go with.
Given the fact that we have 2 more speakers, 2 more questions.
Ian, last August we learned that the search warrant was unsealed, that a confidential informant had talked about this perhaps that Anderson mentioned a month before. Any reason that that wasn't brought up and discussed?
I don't want to comment on that.
Any concerns in the past 9 days? Any times that you were less confident maybe than?
When you have a team like we had here and support, family support, colleague support like we had, I was feeling confident mostly the entire time.
One more?
Was the circumstantial evidence in this case more powerful than having some of that other physical evidence?
I think I'd just let the verdict speak to that.
Hi, Assistant Chief Nicole Waldner of the Milwaukee Police Department. I oversee the Criminal Investigation Bureau. I just wanted to thank my detectives, many of which are standing here, but it is just a fraction. If you watched any of the trial, you know how many people were involved in this. And as Detective Donner alluded to, it was continuous cooperation between our 2 agencies. In my time of 28 years working for Milwaukee Police, we've always worked with the sheriffs, but never ever has it been as seamless as it has this time. And the cooperation between the agencies and the hard work by both of them and the teamwork was amazing. And honestly, I feel like it's due to the dedication of Sheriff Ball and Chief Norman always working together, and it filters down. And without that leadership and saying, okay, do whatever you guys got to do to figure this out, it wouldn't have happened the way it did. And so I just really appreciate all the cooperation between, you know, sometimes it's hard to get a bunch of type A's and the personality, you know, type A personalities to work on something, but they all just took this case and nothing was more important than figuring it out. So I just wanted to publicly thank all of the detectives on both sides that worked on this case.
Is there anything that can be learned from this for the future? Any types of that cooperation or how a case like this might be, you know, like anything that can be gleaned from the last 14 months?
So we've always worked in cooperation, but you all know, being in Milwaukee, there has not been anything like this, right, since way back, right? So now we have a process, right? And I think it was the coordination between the 2 teams, and I feel like my feeling is this is how it's going to be. No matter what, is say something happens at the lakefront, this cooperation exists, and we're gonna do things together. Because honestly, with staffing, with crime, this is how it has to be for a community to have a law enforcement agencies that work well together. This is what it's going to be from now on.
Good morning. First, I'd like to start by extending condolences to the Robinson family. But I also want to commend and thank all who participated in the investigation of the death of Ms. Robinson, as well as those who participated in the trial. As you know, this was not the typical homicide or death investigation that we would normally have. It was not packaged up in a bow and all of that. They literally, it was a puzzle that they had to piece together what happened, figure out what happened, and then present a case that was coherent to the jury. And so I'm proud of the work that was done by everyone that is involved in this case. But on a personal note, I just want to say I'm proud of the men and women of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, but also everyone that participated in this trial. The result was the result that we thought was fair. It was a guilty verdict. And so, you know, I'm hoping that it would bring some semblance of peace to the family. And so as I wrap up, again, I want to, on behalf of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, I want to extend the condolences not only to the family, but to the friends and to the community who have embraced the Robinson family. And, may this be the beginning of healing. Thank you.
I really hope so as well. It looks like they switch now, to commentators. So that was the end of the press conference. What I'd like to do is also show you, let's just see. So there was the verdict, and then over here, the family also spoke outside the courtroom before this press conference happened. So maybe we could watch that together. I'm wearing pink in honor of Sade Robinson. Her favorite color was pink. And you'll see now that her family members all wear pink in honor of Sade. So we have these pink hearts and emojis that we've been using throughout the trial to show the family solidarity. We care, we're there with you, we've got your back. I hope that they felt that as well. We're always protective of victims and their families. So I'm really glad as well that the trial, they didn't show graphic pictures. I'm a little disappointed that some news outlets actually took pictures in the courtroom and they were really graphic and released them in the articles, because people have been emailing them to me. And I must say they addressed it here as well. So they are upset about that, because I'm like, how must the family feel? So yeah, let's listen to what they've got to say as well. Oh, shame. Here's her mom.
First and foremost, we'd like to thank the jury. We'd like to thank the judge. We'd like to thank the community for stepping forward and helping us locate her remains. We'd like to thank them for having patience with the family and for their support. It has been a long year. It has been a moment of grief that no parent should have to bear, and that this family has endured. They've held their heads up high as they've sat through this trial. There were moments of weakness, there were moments of anger, there were moments of frustration, and throughout all of that, they were victorious in seeking justice. That was the most important thing to them, and we are appreciative to this community for supporting them in that. And as we move forward, we will be seeking legislation to help prevent this from happening in the future, to support women who are sex trafficked, who are kidnapped, who are put in positions where they are vulnerable, and where the system right now does not put forth enough effort to seek and find them before it gets to the point that they are missing. We want a situation where when someone steps forward and says that someone is missing, immediate actions are able to be taken. We want a better system for communicating and for women knowing how to communicate when they feel like someone's missing, and what the next step is for someone to do. That's something that should be taught to students, for them to be aware of how to react when they see a friend in trouble. I know that we would not have gotten to this point if it wasn't for the young women who saw the car on fire, stepping forward and saying something and calling attention to what they saw. It took...
Oh, my word, that was so instrumental in this case as well. Those witnesses being like, he did it, and them looking at him and saying, that guy was walking from that car, he did it. That was amazing. If you missed any of the things that I'm referencing, everything from the trial days is timestamped for you, and you can just go and check that out. I would encourage it, because I'm sure along the way you may have missed a day or two. You may have missed moments. I'm re-listening to some of the testimony as well, even though I was there with you all day, every day. Some of it I'm like, wait, got to revisit that, Thank you so much all for being here.
It took a village for this to happen, and for this person to be caught for this crime, and for Maxwell Anderson to be convicted. It was many people who came forward and took those steps. But we also need to know how to take those steps. What actions should be taken when you see evidence? How do you collect evidence? What evidence should be collected and how to preserve it? Those are things that we are not taught that are necessary for our judicial system to function properly. And I believe we have Representative Stubbs here. So she's somewhere over here. Here she is. She is helping to support this family and bringing forth that type of legislation and drafting those types of bills. She's been being instrumental in this community for seeking information from victims, from witnesses on how she can support what that bill should say. So if you have that type of information, if you have anything that you want to provide to her office, please do so. To me, the more voices that are heard, the more experts that can provide information, including psychologists, therapists, victim witness representatives, politicians, as well as litigators on both sides, defense attorneys and prosecutors alike. That information being brought forward to be put into a bill that can be concise, that can be proactive, that's important to this family at this point. We are going to be moving forward with our civil litigation case now that this has been resolved, and it will move forward quite rapidly once the sentencing has occurred. I am to some degree grateful about the fact that it was put on pause, because now I'm hoping I can get a ruling that he cannot use the Fifth Amendment to prevent such things as depositions and such forth moving forward. And we greatly did have the intent to hold a deposition where we will ask pertinent questions and where we can hopefully finally get to some other truths that the family would like answers to. And I thank you all for being here. I know from a health standpoint that my client has endured multiple issues health-wise that we are now going to be able to address and move forward on. She was pausing on some of her health needs just until this was over, but now we'll be able to pay focus on those things as well. I know people have...
Shame, and everyone, you know, during the trial was saying, especially closing arguments, is she okay? Everyone was worried about Sheena. Sade's mother, she's right over here. The lady speaking is Veronica Swanigan, the Robinson family attorney, and Sade's mom was exhausted. By closing arguments, she was exhausted. She was passed out. And I can't even imagine what she's endured. She was so strong to be there almost every single day for the trial. They said she missed one day because of her health, because she was just so exhausted. Can you imagine? I mean, and this case is so graphic and gruesome, and it's her daughter. It's a lot, you know, so I really feel for her.
I asked that question about how she was feeling and her mood throughout the trial, and there was one day that she couldn't attend, but that was the reason. There's been some things that, you know, I don't know if anyone has had moments of lack of sleep, but when you cannot sleep for a year, when you have to deal with the torture of what happened to your child, when you have to sit through multiple times being shown those photos by the prosecution to prepare her for sitting through the trial, then to have to actually sit through that and have community members and politicians in Waukegan put those things out in the public in an indecent manner. And I've been told, which I'm quite upset about, that someone in this media team, and I'm not sure where they are specifically as I'm standing here, but someone did a very disrespectful thing and put this out in the media and actually exposed photographs of her child. I am just begging you to remove them before we have to seek legal action against you as well.
Yeah, seek legal action. You know why? Because you know, I get a lot of emails, of course, and some of those are like, oh, here's the pictures in case you didn't see it. But I mean, it wasn't streamed for a reason. And at least 2 media outlets have put out horrific, graphic pictures. You know, so they really shouldn't have done that. And I mean, it's like on an article. It will be like, you know, day 7, Maxwell Anderson trial, and then it'll say photo gallery. And as part of that photo gallery, there'll maybe be like, you know, 10 photos. And as part of those photos, it's just suddenly you're like, oh my word, like, why did they put that in there? They've shared pictures of Sade on the couch as well. You know, those pictures they weren't going to show. What? But then also her dismembered remains. Why would they do that? And just, it's like, no biggie. Just put it as part of the gallery. I mean, so yeah, I'm glad that they addressed that here.
That was disturbing. That was disrespectful. That should never have been done. So whoever that was, please take that down. It is my understanding that that information is now sweeping through underground media. And if you don't know what I mean by that, there is a such thing as the dark web. The dark web loves to expose those type of photographs, and they make money off of them. This did not happen in the city of Milwaukee. This should not happen to any victim. It should specifically not happen in this case. I am extremely upset by that. That type of information should have even never been leaked to the media. If it was, you should have destroyed it. You should have had enough decency to destroy it. This case has been riddled with people who are inappropriate. This case has been riddled with people who are indecent, inhumane. That's why we are here. So for you to continue that type of behavior is appalling. It should cease. We are demanding that it ceases. The family is demanding that it ceases. The community demands that it ceases. We should not feed into the dark web. We should not feed into dark behaviors. Take action. Respect yourselves. Respect this community. If you're going to be the people who report the news, report it in a proper manner. We have nothing else to say.
How do you feel the state prosecuted this case?
I believe they did the best job that they could with the information that they had at hand. This was a circumstantial case. There were no eyewitnesses, and he did his job to try to do this case in as best as he could, dealing with a person who did everything that he could potentially do to try to conceal evidence and hide. So when you have that type of person at hand, which is one of the most vile type of criminals that you could be, because your whole goal is to continue to commit crimes and get away with it, which is why most of us believe that this is not his first time. Most people aren't that good at hiding their activity when it's their first time. So we are happy that he is behind bars, that he will not be able to do this to anyone else.
How frustrating is it to...
Do you also think so? I also think it's not his first time. I mean, he really went all out on trying to cover up this crime, even though some of the things make no sense. It was quite brazen to go out to public places where he's known. I don't know if he meant to take that bus that day, you know, or if he meant for his night to take that long. I'm not sure about that, but that backpack he had looked heavy. Whatever he had in there, I would speculate tools or something. It's just, even when they said, and trigger warning, I'm going to say something related to the case, and it is a graphic case, of course, involving murder and dismemberment. When they said that they don't believe that he, sawed through her bones, right? That he used a non-serrated knife and cut the tissue, and then there was blunt force trauma and all that. Wow, I'm like, that's not someone who's doing that for the first time, you know, in my opinion. It's also interesting that the state in their closing arguments said that they do believe that he dismembered Sade at Warnimont Park, there at that beach. Because it did, in the beginning, we weren't sure, was it at the house or where, in the car or at the beach? It sounds like it was at the beach. And sure, that is just so scary. Can you imagine if somebody was on a walk that night, wanting to get some air? Not that you'd be there because it's raining and there's waves and everything, but still, can you imagine stumbling, upon someone doing something like that? It's just, wow. Yeah, Rebecca says, and clean cuts, right?
Still not have answers about where her remains are and how she died.
Well, we believe we know how she died. Based on the circumstantial evidence, the reports from the autopsy reports, we believe we know how she died. As far as the rest of the remains, I am hoping that throughout the process of the civil litigation, I may be able to give some more answers. I wish we could have gotten them now. I wish his family as well as him would have been more upfront and honest about what was happening. But someone that went to that extent to hide and conceal, how much more could we expect of that type of a person?
Do you feel justice has been served for Sade?
I believe justice has been served from the standpoint of a criminal situation. Justice is a strong word, and it requires more than just the judicial system from a criminal standpoint. It also requires litigation. It requires legislation to happen to prevent these things in the future. So those are things that a community has to do to support justice. Justice is not just one day in court. It has to be a continued effort by media, by the everyday individual when they decide to go vote. Justice is an ongoing process.
Just want to get, does Sheena feel like sharing how she remembers Sade?
She is honestly exasperated and exhausted. Both parents have been exhausted. I mean, this is a type of case where you saw a father get so angry and frustrated that he destroyed a bowl that should be indestructible. And a mother who has sat through this grueling 2 weeks of testimony, where you saw people getting exhausted to the point where they were falling asleep. You saw a mother get so filled with anxiety and frustration and overwhelming sentiment that has now harmed her physically, health-wise, emotionally, mentally, and everything else. This type of a case takes every cell in your body to get through. It's not something that you just can, oh, okay, let me go get through my day like you get through to a regular day at work. It's just not that. And so I understand her not speaking to you today. I understand her and respect her, and I hope that you do as well. Her taking the position that she's just tired.
Ms. Warnimont, everybody here has been in the courtroom every single day. Is there someone who...
But she will speak in a moment. Shame. She's so tired. And her attorney here, the Robinson family attorney, just said, you know, wow, that Sade's dad also destroyed a ball that should be indestructible. Is that like a I don't know, is it like a basketball or like wow, can you imagine how angry he was? But Sade's mom, Sheena, is going to have a word as well.
Come forward to just talk about what it finally feels to hear that verdict that you all have been waiting for.
Step forward, please. Thank you.
You got this, Sheena.
Thank you.
You got it.
Hold on.
It's I remember Sade is forever, she will be forever remembered as an angel, a light worker who's touched so many souls, so many lives in the Milwaukee community. She is our hero. She is forever leaving an imprint. She walked in her own path, her own light. She solved her own case. My baby solved her own case. That's how I raised my kids. We don't give up. We are fighters. I demanded justice. I stand tall. I stand affirmative. Sade will continue to walk with me daily and right beside me. Please continue to support us by walking in how you move every day. Like, live by your principles. Live in your true spirit. That's how Sade is remembered, from every job, from every stranger, from every person she touched. Her energy is just, it will be forever with us. Please continue to support the foundation, SadesVoiceFoundation.com. Myself and Adriana and all of the Sade's Voice angels and light workers that have been standing beside me, the whole team. We will definitely be advocating for all of the other missing, murdered, all of the other individuals in the community. I appreciate everybody in the community that's been standing beside us and by us. I know that there's a lot of other crime victim families in the community that have been outreaching me, and I had to, I have to take it one step at a time. I had to get my baby's justice first before I can be able to help maneuver and support any other crime victim families. But that's definitely going to be our mission. That's how I'm going to carry on Sade's, her voice. Definitely. I'll be working with Representative Sheila Stubbs. Thank you so much for being here. We're pushing for the Missing and Murder Task Force. It's mandatory. The state definitely needs it for our BIPOC women, for all women. And just allow us time to just kind of grieve. I haven't really had a day to grieve since April of last year. Me and Adriana have been nonstop all day, every day. We my mom, my family, all of us, we don't give up. So that's what I can say about Sade. Go hard for your kids. If anybody has learned anything from this situation, please talk to your kids. Please communicate. Takes a village. See something, say something. And we'll be working to do many things. Just continue to follow us and support us. And my mission is for crime victim families.
Ms. Sheena, are you able?
Shame. Her family is so strong. This is her sister here standing behind her mom. And her sister actually accepted Sade's associate degree in criminal justice, on her behalf. Shame. We saw that during the trial as well. I linked that for you.
Finally have some relief tonight after fighting so hard for justice, knowing that this man who murdered your baby is going to be spending decades in jail?
It's definitely, it's a weight. It's such a heavy weight. It's never going to be the same. Even for Adriana, like my mom, that's our best friend. That's my baby. That's my angel. And there's no such thing as justice. Like, we don't have her, but we all, please understand how you treat people and how you put out energy and how you recycle it into the community, because I guess that's what keeps me knowing that it was the relationship that I had with my daughter, and it's nothing but positive energy. And the goals and the things that she was able to accomplish in her 19 years is just so phenomenal. And I have that peace in my heart knowing that I did the best possible job as a mother, and I will forever have her close in my heart to spirit.
Sheena, do you have any words for Maxwell Anderson?
No.
No words for Maxwell Anderson. Oh. No. I like that. Do you have any words for Maxwell Anderson? No. Nothing. He's irrelevant now.
What's your favorite memory, childhood memory of Sade?
Everything. Her smile, just her light. She carried an aura, like the glow, the same aura that she FaceTimed me the Monday before she was taken. That same aura, angelic aura, that is literally a glow. Like Sade carried that glow from birth, and it's just her energy. Her energy. That's my. There's so many memories. There's so many memories, and throughout all of this, like throughout the grief and everything, Sade continues to talk to me, to guide me, and her mission is still wanting to help others.
How does it feel to have the verdict but still not to have her crown? I know that's something we've talked about over and over again.
It's the most agonizing, painful thing, Bria. Like this, me and her dad, I just don't see how a demonic type energy can have no remorse and sit there, and how their family can support them and literally sit there and cover up and support the things that they were aware of that their son did. So karma's a bitch, and I will continue to fight to get her continued justice and for all of the other missing and murdered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. That was so amazing and strong. I'll make sure to link what we just watched from this feed, which is actually from Fox 6 News Milwaukee. And there's also WISN, has also all the media outlets that were covering the trial have been, doing interviews and things outside of the courthouse, including with attorney Anthony Cotton, the defense attorney. We saw the DA speak and the prosecutor and all of that as well. So I'll make sure to link that below for you in case you want to just watch all of it, because there's actually a lot, in between, and they took lots of breaks and things like that. So I'm so relieved by the verdict that we got to see. Oh my goodness. And the trial was actually, it was a week and a half. They said it would be about a 2-week trial. That would be if the defense presented a case, which they did not, which I didn't expect. I really thought they would. I thought they would have at least, I don't know, they said they would have about 7 people to call on, but they just rested their case. And Maxwell Anderson did not testify. to me, that spoke volumes as well. I was like, oh, okay. He doesn't have to, and it's the burden's on the state to prove their case, but I was just a little surprised by that. It's just like, oh, the defense rests. What? So, yeah, that was a very busy final day of the trial. We were all, settling in to see, okay, what other evidence do they have? And maybe it's going to be 2 or 3 more days. No, it was like they had their final witnesses, the state rested, and then the defense rested. Maxwell Anderson wasn't testifying, closing arguments, and then the judge said they'll start deliberation the next day, but they actually started right then and there. She changed her mind and said, well, it's 4:30, let's start now. So the jury deliberated for 15 minutes, and then the judge decided, okay, let's send everyone home. I think everyone was tired, including the family, right, that was there in the courtroom. And so the jury went home, came back within it was 44 minutes total. So really, within half an hour of coming back, oh my word, they had a verdict. That was another surprise. I didn't think it would take long, but still, there's paperwork to do and all of that as well. So if you missed any of the trial coverage, if you missed the verdict or anything that you want to see, it's all on the playlist for you. I'm certainly going to be watching some of it again because it was just so well done, so well presented. It was a really great trial to watch with you. So thank you so much. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.